When I created these Rigol oscilloscope lessons like 10, 11 years ago, it's been that long, 11 years ago, a lot of people asked me about how do you get this remote configuration set up. And I had, in the meantime, and at that time I was building a home. I was building my own home, and I didn't have time to deal with it anymore. Well, now that everything's settled down, the home's finished. Didn't take 11 years to build the home, but I built it myself, and it took 5 years. Anyway, the home's finished. Now I'm coming back to this. I need to use this oscilloscope for some more videos, so that the virtual screen is much more better than looking at the front of a live scope. It's a lot less noisy. So this video will demonstrate how to get your Rigol oscilloscope running remotely on your computer. Now you could go to the Rigol website and download their version of the driver for this Rigol scope, along with the latest version of the software, which is version 00.01.10, version 10. That's the latest, and that was done a long time ago. So they haven't updated it, and I'm sure they haven't updated the drivers. So in order to get nice, clean drivers that have security threats removed from them, I decided to go right to the National Instrumentation website and get their Visa drivers directly. And that's what this video is going to demonstrate. So let's get on with that. My next step is to come down here and do all this. So we're going to go to this location. Let's just do it. Go to this location. We'll go to this location. Copy. Paste, hit enter. This is where you're going to find the Ultrascope. So come down and look for an Ultrascope for DS1000E. That's my particular scope. There might be a different one here. By clicking on it, it starts to download. As you can see, it's doing a download right now. I've already done that, so I'm going to cancel the download. Close that out and go back over to my downloads file location. There's right here, Ultrascope for DS1003. I'm going to double click that. It's going to put it in a folder. And I don't care about these things. We already have our NI Visa installed. All we need is the Ultrascope. So we just double click this to run it. We don't care. We don't need that other stuff. Now we're installing the Ultrascope. So once this installation is completed, then we'll be able to run the O'scope with this software. So now we got to go through the Windows check, and we'll say yes, we want to trust it. Turn it on the O'scope itself. Now we're finished installing that. Because this oscilloscope right here, this DS1000E series, is quite old, I want to get new drivers for it. So I want to start using it again with my computer. So you simply go to this URL right here. I'll copy that. I'll start up. Turn on my internet connection. I'll copy, start up web browser, and I'll paste. Hit enter. We come to this page right here. National Instruments Visa is the name of the program. And the release date is 1/27/22. And it supports different languages. You can select whatever operating system you're using. Also selects these other languages down here. And also supports 32 and 64-bit. So at any rate, you can install offline, which downloads like a 2 gigabyte file, and it's pretty slow to download, slow on their end. Or you can just do a download for online installations. I'm going to do that. So you download a file, clicking here, and you notice that we now have the file available in our downloads directory. So I'm going to close this guy, go over here to my files, downloads, and right here I'm going to execute this guy. Notice I already had it down here, so I'll delete this one to keep things simple on my computer. So I'm going to execute this guy right here. Doing an anti-package installer, we say yes. He does some wonky things here, and then he says he wants you to accept the license agreement. It's a free download, by the way. So next we're going to install this thing. This does take a little bit of time. Installs a lot of stuff we don't want, but that's the simplest way to get this driver on this computer for your Rigol O'scope. Okay, we're not going to install that stuff, this stuff. We're not going to do that. We're just going to do this one thing. Do the runtime installation. So we say next. Now we have to agree to that particular installation. We say next. See, it's going to install all this stuff. I can't stop it. There's no way to disable that. There's no check boxes or anything to remove that. So we're going to install all this crap, don't have to remove it. But the reason I'm going through all this is I want to have a secure and reliable driver for the Rigol O'scope. We'll have updates that we can check ourselves to keep it current with security patches and all that. So this is a nuisance installation, but it's going to do what I want to do. So it'll give me a good driver for the oscilloscope. So when this finishes, then I'll come back. Okay, on the update service checks, automatic. No, I don't want it automatic. I'll decide when I want to do it. And no, I don't want to participate in whatever that is. Okay, now it says we're ready for a reboot. It needs a reboot to finish the installation. Now we're going to do this step right in here where we're going to remove a lot of the software we don't need. So we're going to come over here, go to our settings, go to our apps, come down here. And we're going to uninstall the software. Notice that what we can do, we can remove the lab view. All these things we can remove. Right here, you got to leave those three. Those three get left. This will do updates whenever you run it, and this is the actual driver. So we're going to remove those programs. Now it's busy doing that. And when it's finished with that, we'll come back. Okay, and once again, it wants us to reboot to complete the operation. So now we've removed the excess software that the O'scope doesn't require. So let's go over here and take a look at what's left. We have two programs here. We have Package Manager. It shows that we still have our update service. We have our driver for the instrument. We also have an update service, which goes back out on the internet. So you need an internet connection once again. And it checks for updates. So this is how you can update your drivers anytime you find a new update. No critical updates. Double click this, he checks for any other updates. And he says, no, there's 0 updates. So we're currently up to date. And here's how you go find updates if you want to see if there was an update. We can just run this little utility here which does the update check for you. So now we have the drivers installed that we need and they're easily updated. So at this point we've done all of these things and we're ready now to plug the cable into the back of the scope, plug the same cable into a USB drive on your computer, and we'll go ahead and do that. And the next step is actually run the application. So notice over here we have an Ultrascope. Okay, at this time we have the appropriate driver installed, the driver package and also the update service package. We also have the Ultrascope software installed. Remember, it had to be installed before you installed the driver. There will be problems later. The problems don't happen until you turn the computer off. Next time you turn it on, you start having a lot of issues. So always make sure you install the Ultrascope software first. So we're going to start up Ultrascope now. And if you try to go to the virtual panel, you can't do it. It says please connect the Oscope first. So you go up here and this little tool right here, connect to the Oscope. Click on that and that goes and finds the driver. And the driver has, I don't know what these other instruments are, but you know that USB and DS for my serial number of my scope is my driver. So you select that driver. And now the thing's actually connected. On the front of the scope, you see a little remote sign, but you can't see it here. So let's start up the virtual panel. See this little remote RMT right here? Zoom this up bigger. This RMT shows up on the front of your scope as soon as the driver is connected. What we have here is a virtual panel. And this virtual panel means that all of these controls supersede all of these controls over here, and they also supersede the controls on the oscilloscope itself. So as long as this virtual panel is running, we can't use these controls over here. These are the remote controls which replace the front panel knobs and buttons. And then if we start this virtual panel, these become the remote controls that disable these controls here and also the knobs and buttons on the Oscope. The unfortunate thing in here is we can't delete this Ultrascope application. I guess you would call that the remote application until you delete this virtual panel. Once you've done that, then you can in fact go up here and delete the remote application. Now you can scale this thing, you can minimize this thing down if you want to. Probably it's going to fight me now, and I don't want it to fight me. Oh boy. Now I can bring up my virtual panel, zoom it up to the larger version. I can run it like this. In fact, I can even make this small enough that this hides it if you want to do that. But not while that panel's open. See, it's just a nuisance. So make it down here so it's smaller than a panel, start up the panel, and zoom the panel, move the panel on top of it. So I'm still not quite big enough. Anyway, you can hide the thing you can't get rid of by doing this, and eventually you'll get the right size. You know, you can't adjust this with this not there. It's just a big nuisance. So I'll go ahead and pull this bottom up a little bit. Now I can't see this in one scroll. Zoom this guy, and so as you can see, you can eventually get to where you hide this back panel if you want to do screen video captures. At this point in time, we have full control over the oscilloscope through this virtual panel, which makes it easier to teach. You can hear the fan noise in the background. You don't have that with the virtual panel because you set the oscilloscope away from where the microphone is. You don't have to hear it. Also, you have crystal clear videos. The one thing you do have to realize is that there's a delay. So if I click on the measurement menu, click now, notice there's like a 2-second delay. If I click for the storage menu, I click now. See, there's a delay. Every one of these buttons has that same 2-second delay, and it has to do with the USB interface. So just keep that in mind when you're using this thing. As you watch further videos in this series, you'll see how I use these buttons all the time. And it's helpful if you make a picture of the front panel of your oscope, and once in a while you jump back and forth to the front panel of the oscope and compare it to these knobs here on this virtual panel. That'll help make everything a a lot more understandable. I also want to demonstrate there's two types of storage on this oscilloscope. There's internal, external, and you can do waveforms, and you can do other things. I'm not going to go through it right now. You can do an experiment on your own. But if, for example, we go to this external storage, you push the F3, and we can search for files, we can delete files, we can load files, and we can return back where we came from. In addition to that storage, there's another storage here in the remote which has to do with uploading and downloading the configuration. So if you have all your front panel controls set up the way you want them, you can simply upload that configuration. It saves it in a special place on the scope. And the next time your scope starts up, you can download that, get back all your configuration. So always make sure you come up here and connect with this driver first. And then you can go ahead and do your remote control stuff as desired. So that concludes this lesson on getting your oscilloscope operational remotely. And the way I do it, using the current drivers from the National Instrumentation website. And hopefully this works for you.